Formula One appears poised for a significant shift in its approach to awarding points to drivers on the grid.
Following a recent alteration in 2010, the lower-ranking teams seem eager to embrace a proposed rule change that would recognize consistency by rewarding drivers finishing below the top 10.
This adjustment stands to greatly influence the dynamics of the grid, particularly in the lower positions of the Constructors' Championship.
The question arises, is this proposed change beneficial? And what steps must Formula One take to implement this rule adjustment as early as 2025? Formula One has traditionally prioritized the dominance of constructors.
Despite the presence of backmarker teams, they remain integral to the competition amongst drivers. For instance, the transformation of Williams from 10th to 7th place between 2022 and 2023 resulted in a substantial increase of $30 million in prize money. However, as the team faces a downturn, they may resort to strategically focusing on a single race to maximize points for the season. To discourage such strategies and encourage competitiveness in the lower ranks, F1 teams are exploring initiatives that could redefine the landscape below the top 5 teams. One proposal involves restructuring the points system to allocate 2 and 1 points for finishing 11th and 12th respectively. Under this new scheme, the 8th place driver would earn 5 points, the 9th place driver 4 points, and the 10th place driver 3 points. This adjustment holds promise for teams outside the top 5, as the leading teams consistently occupy the top 10 positions, barring unforeseen circumstances like retirements or crashes. However, this proposed change diminishes the incentive to vie for 6th place, as the team benefiting from retirements among higher-profile competitors would likely secure the position. Nevertheless, achieving 11th and 12th place still demands a degree of consistency and continuous improvement weekend after weekend. The debate at hand revolves around the potential impact of a proposed change on the sport of racing, specifically concerning whether it would fortify or weaken its foundation by deviating from established regulations. This proposal stems from the struggles of a handful of teams who find themselves trailing behind the pack. However, the notion that smaller teams could suddenly contend with powerhouses like Red Bull or Ferrari seems far-fetched, given the financial constraints even with the implementation of budget caps.
A crucial aspect to consider is the allure for top-tier technical talent.
Teams like Aston, Alpine, and Williams may find it challenging to attract elite engineers compared to the prestigious appeal of Ferrari or Mercedes. Yet, dismissing these underdog teams and hoping for sporadic achievements disregards their persistence and resilience in the face of formidable competition. The history of Formula One showcases only a handful of alterations to its point system since 1990. However, amidst the current surge in popularity and race frequency, such adjustments could be warmly received by fans worldwide. The speculated implementation of this rule as early as 2025 appears feasible, especially if it garners support from a majority of teams. With reports indicating that a mere 5 teams need to endorse the change for it to materialize, the prospect becomes increasingly plausible. Considering that 5 teams consistently hover around the 11th and 12th positions, Sauber, Racing Bulls, Haas, Williams, and Alpine, it's conceivable that this alteration could redefine the sports landscape.
Unless opposition from F1's elite intervenes, this shift may soon become a reality, potentially reshaping the competitive dynamic.
A pertinent question arises regarding the long-term efficacy of this solution.
While it may alleviate the current dominance of the top 5 teams, could it catalyze a broader re-evaluation of the point structure?
If a 6th team establishes itself as a regular contender in the lower ranks, it might prompt discussions about further adjustments to level the playing field. In essence, the proposed change represents a pivotal juncture for Formula One, with implications extending beyond mere sporting regulations. It underscores the delicate balance between tradition and evolution, raising pertinent inquiries about fairness, competitiveness, and the essence of the sport itself. As stakeholders deliberate its merits, the future direction of Formula One hangs in the balance, awaiting a verdict that could shape its trajectory for years to come. Inquiries directed at the FIA and the FOM arise when contemplating alterations akin to Andretti's situation.
Whenever there's innovation, the FOM must discern if it enhances or diminishes the sport's essence. While prominent teams may not embrace point adjustments wholeheartedly, scenarios could arise where they stand to gain. Consider a top-tier driver grappling with car troubles akin to Piastri's McLaren ordeal or Hamilton's dismal qualifying, relegating him to P18 on the grid. In such cases, lower grid positions could offer a consolation,
granting extra points amid an already disastrous weekend. Yet, this dual-edged sword rewards consistent mid-pack performers while potentially diluting competition by incentivizing mediocrity over excellence, a move detrimental to securing larger sponsorships and fostering budgetary prudence in the sport's new era.
Fred Vasseur's perspective, shaped by his tenure as Alfa Romeo's team principal, sheds light on this dilemma.
As a representative of a team yet to score points in 2024, Vasseur empathizes with the frustration of commendable performances yielding no tangible reward. Acknowledging the disparity between finishing P11 with no DNF ahead and finishing lower down the grid, he articulates the prevailing sentiment among midfield teams. Christian Hornet further dissects the grid, delineating two factions, the consistent point scorers comprising the top 5 teams and the fiercely contested midfield from P6 to P10. The latter group contends with challenges comparable to their higher-ranking counterparts, underscoring the intensity of competition within their bracket. Introducing a revised points system presents a formidable challenge demanding thorough scrutiny, as its impact on the sport's dynamics remains uncertain. The reluctance to expand the grid to accommodate an 11th team, epitomized by Andretti's uncertain competitiveness despite significant investments, underscores the caution with which regulatory bodies approach changes. This cautious approach reflects the need to preserve the integrity and competitive spirit of the sport amidst evolving dynamics. With recent discussions revolving around the adjustment of standards for backmarker teams in Formula 1, there arises a debate on the sport's current stance on its own criteria. Laurent Mekies, the team principal of Racing Bulls, initially positioned the team in the top 5 before the season commenced. However, the current scenario suggests Racing Bulls as one of the advocates for accepting this alteration, portraying the decision as logical and devoid of contemplation. Mekies emphasizes the necessity of implementing the new point system, advocating for its immediate adoption. He argues that the term backmarkers no longer holds relevance in today's Formula 1 landscape, given the presence of 6 OEMs alongside Red Bull Racing, effectively constituting 7 top-tier teams. Even the teams traditionally considered as the bottom 5 are now formidable organizations, complicating the explanation to external stakeholders regarding the significance of battling for a P11 position that yields 0 points. The competitive prowess of the top 5 teams and the high reliability of their cars accentuate the futility of battling for points, essentially rendering most races as pointless endeavors. This, Mekies contends, undermines the meritocratic nature of the sport. Extending points allocation to P12 would mitigate the impact of unforeseen events, preventing situations where a single exceptional performance by a lower-ranked team disrupts the championship standings for multiple races. While this argument holds merit, it also underscores the potential disparity in points distribution. A mere P4 or P5 finish by a lower-ranked team could significantly inflate their season's points tally, overshadowing the efforts of higher-placed competitors. However, attributing poor performance solely to the existing point system serves as a convenient excuse. The focus should primarily shift towards enhancing team performance rather than relying on systemic changes. As Formula 1 evolves, the need for revisiting established norms becomes increasingly apparent. The unchanged point system since 2010 warrants scrutiny, prompting speculation about impending revisions. Ultimately, the decision rests on the delicate balance between rewarding exceptional performances and maintaining the integrity of the sport. What are your thoughts on reforming the existing point system? Share your opinions in the comments below.